So yeah, over the last 2 years, I've been on quite a journey. A physical transformation, a mindful transformation, and this has all led to various types of transformations in my art. 2 years ago, during the pandemic, I developed a lot of bad habits. I simply had no intentionality in anything I did. I was drinking a lot, of course. With the gyms closed, I wasn't exercising ever, and all that at the time was really affecting my creativity. This is me now, in 2024. I am 25 pounds lighter. I am more creative now than I have been in a long time. I'm just as motivated today as I was when I first started the journey, and of course I'm now happier than ever. But the best part is, of course, I'm also carrying a little bit less stress overall, which is something I've had to work at. And if it's anything I learned, it's that what we do every day and what we engage in really affects our mental state of being. And our mental state of being affects art and our life. And that's what I want to do today. I want to share my journey, everything that I've learned in the last 2 years. This is not a video about how I look, but it's about how I feel, how I do stay motivated, how I keep the creativity going, and how to be happy doing all of it, right? Sustainable growth. Because I didn't believe it at the time, but how active we are and what we eat, that has ripple effects in our life. Particularly the older we get, the more importance that it does have. And of course, I'm a better creator because now I'm taking care of my physical and my mental self. And there's a lot of information out there on all of this. I had spent a year to 6 months really researching, really trying to implement it in various ways throughout my life. So I'm going to give you guys my 2 cents on what worked for me. I am not a fitness influencer. I am not a therapist. I am not a doctor. I'm especially not your doctor. So I'm going to just tell you what worked for me. Take it or leave it. I'm an artist and a creative professional. And I can't stress enough how important it is to take care of ourselves during our endeavors. And with that said, let's get into this. Alright, so number 1 today, guys, that's going to be instilling some good habits. And this is going to be the backbone to almost everything I'm talking about going further down the line here. It all starts with that good habits, right? Because we're going to fall to the level of our systems on any given day. And what I learned is not only does it kind of take a little bit of time to kind of build a good habit, I'd say at least 2 weeks. A lot of folks, and I made this mistake as well, try to do too much at once. Start with like one easy to do good habit and then layer in another good habit a week later. And then another week later, try another good habit, right? So, and compound them. So like when you're starting a new good habit, don't of course disregard and get rid of the old one. Start doing them together. So like if I had to start cutting out sugar or junk food, I'm not going to cut out every food that I started to and basically jump on this crash diet, because that's not sustainable. It's like, okay, this week I'm going to get rid of my 2 p.m. snack. The next week I'm going to quit drinking, after 8 p.m. Whatever the case is, right? You just do one little thing at a time and you add it to the thing you started the week before, right? That is the key to having a good routine. Of course, for me, a large part of this as well was having designated time and spaces for all the things that I need to do, right? For me, that's like working out. Of course, that's working, and that's playing, right? Recreation. Having designated times for work, for play, and anything in between definitely helps. And for me, it also helps to have special spaces for each of those places. That way, mentally, I never get tempted. I never get confused and conflicted on what I want to do. And during the lockdowns, that was a huge kind of problem for me, because I had to work out over there in a corner of my office. And when I'm working out, I'm feeling guilty that I'm not working. And when I'm working too much, I'm feeling guilty that I'm not working out, or I wasn't working out at all, if I'm being honest. And, if you're playing video games where you work too, a lot of folks do that. If you're playing games on your high-end gaming PC, that can also be a problem, which is why I very rarely do so. My one exception to that was like Baldur's Gate, because I didn't have it on my PlayStation. But having designated times and spaces for your activities and routines is one of the pillars that worked really, really well for me. So for example, I wake up at 5 a.m. I've done this now for about a year. I'll probably have a separate video on that. And I work out at a gym, a public gym, for 2 hours. Then I come home, get my kids on the buses and off to school, and then I work and I grind it out from 8 in the morning till noon when I have to go get my kids again. But I have that designated time and space that I really kind of work, and I'm going to do everything, and I do it automatically, right? Because with a routine, you're going to just not think about things. You're going to get up and do them in automation, and that is the trick. There's, of course, a bazillion other smaller things you could do, like instead of watching Netflix till you pass out, stop a little earlier, read a little book, and then sleep. I love listening to audiobooks. I love listening to history before I rest. It helps calm my mind and almost acts as that white noise. So find what works well for you, because that having good quality sleep is a huge part of that. Other small things, a large part of what I did is food, which is really tough with my family dynamic. I've got 2 young kids. I've got a wife that's gluten-free, that is on her own sort of set of restrictions, and then there's me. And I'm trying to like bulk up, get muscle, get really lean abs and stuff. Everyone's on a very specific diet. It's really tricky. So of course the big high-level thing you could do, minimize eating out. Eating out rarely works good for anyone. In the US, they give you 2 to 3 times the proportion that you'll ever need. And like me, I don't like throwing things away. I rarely like taking things home. So I'm just going to eat it all in excess. So my hack was like, okay, I'm going to minimize eating out. The next big tier up from that, of course, is cook at home, right? Just cook a good old home-fashioned cooked meal, whether having your spouse do it, whether you're having your mom or your dad do it, doesn't matter, right? Eat food at home. That's a huge way, because it's, of course, easier to track, it's easier to measure, which is a huge thing that I've done over the last 2 years, is I measure everything, because I came across as saying, and it is 100% true, what is measured is improved. So I buy awesome little food scales. I've got this nice little Apple Watch that tracks all my stats, and I use apps like MyFitnessPal, which is free, and I log everything I eat, because I am a creator. I'm home all afternoon. I'm just gonna snack. My kids get snacks. Oh my God, they get the most delicious snacks. They got fruit snacks, fruit roll-ups, they got all kinds of gummies, they've got candy bars. My kids are here to sabotage me, I swear to God. So if I have to force myself to manually log into my phone everything I eat, I'm going to eat less. You know what? Because I'm a little lazy at the end of the day, and I don't want to log in all this junk food. I'm going to feel bad about it. So part of the huge thing that I did in my transformation was just forcing myself to log in anything that goes into my mouth. Problem solved. After a week, I don't even think about it. It was all automatic. Might seem like an inconvenience at first, and it is to a degree, but I've actually come to like it, and I don't mind it at all, because the benefits far outweigh any kind of inconvenience that comes from it. So you could go one step up on this whole food thing. You could actually meal prep. You could prep in advance. I cook all kinds of really lean protein meals, like on Sundays. Sundays I spend all day cooking and baking. I make my own kind of a variety of recipes that have to do with chicken, because for someone like me that wants to get really lean and really strong, chicken is a cornerstone. So I prep it in a variety of ways. I make barbecue chicken, I make pulled chickens, I make air fried, chicken with my own batter. I eat grilled chicken. I eat a lot of chicken. Chicken and broccoli. Lots of broccoli as well. So get your veggies. But I also eat awesome things like ham and pork loins, 93.7 lean, ground beef, which is really great as well. I'm just a little more selective with what I purchase and what I bring home. Instead of like big loaves of like white bread, that really good soft white bread, I just kind of eat wraps. Wraps are much leaner, and they go further. I can just wrap all the chicken up or all the pork up and eat it. So I'm not really cutting out anything cold turkey. I'm just moderating what I'm eating and being a little bit more selective with those choices. And for me, that's the key, because it makes it long-term sustainable, right? It's not something I want to do for a month or 2 weeks. It's something I can keep doing without really impacting the quality of my life. So again, you just want to look, externally at any potential bad influences that you may have. Be very mindful of them and measure everything. Get what tools you need to. I bought a $20 food scale on Amazon. I bought the Apple Watch, which was an older used one, I think. So Again, you could always find deals, and I bought a smart scale from Amazon to measure my body weight, my body fat, from Rempo. I'll have links below for everything. And again, it really helps me stay on track. So number 2 today is emotional upkeep. This is a big one for me. As I'm getting older, I have to set more examples. I have to be more mindful of everything. And that's how it starts, is for me kind of questioning not only my thoughts, but my actions, and keeping these under control constantly, because I'm just getting stressed out. And when I get stressed, I do bad habits, right? Like I'll drink too much caffeine, I'll eat too much food, and it just spirals out of control from there. But a huge part of these last 2 years, of course, has been managing distractions. I know this is something we all deal with. Everyone's got like 16 different screens, there's endless supplies of content and scrolling, and of course we can form bad habits around all of this as well. So for me, it's managing distractions and those bad habits, because usually with those comes a lot of stress, and that is a huge thing I've been dealing with. Typically, the more responsibilities I tend to take on, the more I try to cram into a day, whether it's my physical activities or whether it's all my work-related content, I'm going to carry a lot more stress with me. Now, there's a lot of things that we as creators or high-performing people can do when it comes to managing stress. And I know personally my schedule is not solely responsible for this. A huge contributor to this is the sheer amount of caffeine I consume. I have my fridge stocked full of caffeinated energy drinks. Again, it gives me that boost and it helps manage my hunger when I'm trying to get shredded. I've been on the lookout for a much more healthier alternative. And of course, I'm very lucky because last month, a company called Magic Mind reached out and asked me to talk about their product. Now, this is labeled as a mental performance shot, right? This is not a caffeine replacement. So, I love taking these before I'm about to shoot a video, or I'm going to do a lot of editing, or I'm going to grind out a lot of student reviews. They're great in the morning or before any kind of task. But yeah, this product is by creators for creators like myself and most of you out there. And so far, 4 to 5 shots in, I'm absolutely loving it. Of course, this is 100% safe. It's third-party tested and used from the highest quality products possible. One shot consists of matcha, which is like 55 grams of caffeine, half the dose of a cup of coffee typically. It's got your nootropics, right, which are a form of like lion's mane mushroom, which help with all the cognitive aspects in it. Now, ingredient number 3 come from the adaptogens, which do help reduce the stress. And then of course, it's just got some nice vitamins for immunity, like A and D, everything that I need. So again, guys, use the links below. Use Tyler Edlin 20 at the checkout to save 48% off your first subscription, or to save 20% off your first purchase. It's 100% safe to try. They do give refunds, but I definitely recommend it as I've been enjoying it over the last 3 weeks. I've certainly noticed a little less stress. You can kind of see that on my face. It's quite a bit clearer. It breaks out when I'm really stressed. As a result of that, my mood's been a little better. You guys could ask my wife, she could attest to that. And my motivation and focus have remained on task. So yeah, looking forward to continuing this in my routine. But yeah, generally, if you're tired, take a Magic Mind shot or just go to bed. Don't force yourself to grind out some task if you're exhausted. This old professor once told me, if you're asleep or very tired, when you're working on your art and your craft, the audience or the viewer is going to also feel tired when they're looking at your art. So I'm always trying to keep myself at a pretty high level of energy when I'm creating. And this kind of comes from questioning when I'm creating and what I want that intention to be, right? Because again, a huge part of my issue was lack of intentionality. And that starts with, when am I creating? Why am I creating? And what are the surrounding conditions that I'm doing so? Part of this is that, revenge procrastination is real. And I had to ask myself, what am I compromising on tomorrow's schedule by staying up way too late, past midnight, playing the new Elden Ring DLC? What am I putting at stake tomorrow because I'm making a poor choice today. Now, I had many issues, of course, over the last 2 years. One of them, of course, was self-doubt. It led to imposter syndrome. Everything that kind of tied into that terrible loop, that mindset that can get you. And what I found helpful was to try simply journaling, writing things out that I've already accomplished, reflecting on things that I've learned. And again, this is a backdoor way of kind of like measuring things, because if I'm measuring things, I'm going to eventually improve it. And that just took a little bit more effort for me to do, because I was never a journaling type of person, but I had to take time, before bed, to just reflect on the day, reflect on the week, reflect on the month, and occasionally on the years, to say, hey, this is what I did. It's okay. I've come this far. I still have a ways to go. I want a ways to go. How can I do this? So just reflect inwards instead of all these outwardly negative things that can get us. Of course, let me know below if you also suffer from letting the outside world affect you too much and you don't reflect inwards enough to bolster your own creativity and your own achievements. But another huge part of this is feeling stuck, right? That often comes from being tired, which of course is also just doubting yourself as well. You could feel stuck. It's very easy, both creatively, both as a person, even physically. If I'm hitting a plateau, I can feel stuck all the time as well. And often what I have to do, whether it's in the gym or, in my art, is to switch things up. So artistically, if I'm drawing too much, I'm going to paint for a while. If I'm painting for a while and that's not working, I'm going to switch it up again. I'm going to start sculpting. I'm going to grab a 3D app. I'll start sculpting on the screen. If that's not working, I'll sculpt in the VR headset. I just constantly switch things up, and that really helps me get out of any kind of creative ruts. This doesn't even have to always be within your artwork. This could be something small and something external. So for me, even just taking a cool shower, I'm kind of sweating now because it's in the middle of the summer and I don't have AC here. Taking a cool shower just to freshen up, just to kind of cool off, that can reset my mind entirely. Also doing another kind of task, whether that's like mowing the lawn, raking my yard, just moving mulch or dirt around, because I love gardening. That can also just give me the mental reset I need, midday or in the morning if I'm if I woke up on the wrong side of the line. But doing a small chore that's external will give you that dopamine hit that often enough for a lot of us is, especially for me, it's good to kind of get me going again. All right, so this one, number 3 here, I've never really had a problem with, but it's hugely important and it's a little bit more fun. And that's your hobbies can enrich your art life. What I'm saying is we take our experiences outside of art with us. Having hobbies outside of art can inspire you, it can motivate you, it can keep you healthy, and bring new experiences. The overall idea here, of course, is just to broaden your skill sets and, more importantly, your interests. I know personally that's what kind of fosters a lot of my own creativity and definitely kind of keeps it maintainable, over the last 2 years anyway. And so specifically, we're talking about avoiding burnout through diversification. Part of this was already kind of covered where I'm saying switch it up. That's part of it in a sense. But staying active for me is a huge part of this as well. So I love going on hikes and walks with my families, which may lead us walking through this forest, which might get them talking, which might fill their imagination, and then they start telling stories on these hikes, and that kind of comes back to me, and oh, now I've got an idea for a new kind of character design, right? It's all cyclical. And for me, a huge part of this now moving forward has been balancing work and play. So yes, I have designated spaces for play, designated time for work. So of course, a huge part of this is balancing work and play. And of course, like I said, having designated times and spaces to do each. But to make sure I do have each in every day that I possibly can fit them in. So for me right now, I like to work hard, play hard. I work out 5 days a week. That's 5 strength training sessions, and then on average, let's say about 3 cardio sessions. And those can range anywhere from, strength about 50 minutes, cardio 20 to 30. I don't do as much cardio, but I do that 5 days a week. I'm a little more on the intense side, as you guys could see. You could definitely get away with far less. Let's say if you're a bit more overweight, let's say plus 30% body fat, really inactive, just walk. And I come from a family of not super humans. Let's just say that, right? I'm kind of working against my genetics and age. So what I have to do, and what I recommend too for anyone, is if you're in a place where you're just starting out, just walk. Or even just set a timer, on your phone. Get up, walk. Just walk 30 minutes a day. If you're not even doing that right now, that will be hugely beneficial to you. Again, as a non-fitness influencer, I say that. But let's say step range wise, on a perfect day, I would love to get 10,000 steps a day. In the summer, because I do so much active things in my yard and with my kids, that's very easy. I hit 12 to 15,000 steps a day in my summer months. But in the winter, I struggle to get 8. And I do find just having a higher step count allows, of course, more leeway in my diet, and of course just kind of keeps me more active, and mentally, and of course keeps the physical stress away as well. But yeah, just kind of staying moving. That's a huge part of balancing that every week, like I was saying. So I try to play a little bit of my video games with my kids every day. I try to work out every day, and I work almost every day. Like I'm filming this on a Sunday. I don't take any kind of really hard days off. I don't work full days though, right? So I'm never working 8 to 10 hours a day. I'm more of a 5 to 6 hour workday kind of guy, but I work every day. So it's a balance. It's a trade-off. For me, this of course helps just maintain motivation across the board. I love to do things, and these are other ideas that you guys could do too. Like you could draw or paint on a location. If you're like by the shore, you could draw the ocean or the cliffs, or go to a museum, do a master's study. Just reading in general is a great way. Like I love reading stories to my kids. It fills me with ideas from time to time. That's another great way. Of course, like I mentioned previously, what helps me kind of stay creative is external, and when I say external, I mean not work-related crafts. So I have incidentally over the last 2 to 3 years turned into a massive yard enthusiast, a gardener. I'm not going to call myself a florist because that's more or less my wife's department, but I love a good yard. I love designing out an outside space. I love planting. I love moving my soil around. I love the physicalness of that. I love the organization parts of that. I love the creativity that can go with that too. I love taking something that is nothing and giving it its own kind of transformation. I'm all about transformations. And that's why if you want to fast track your own artistic transformation, check out the links below, of course, for all my art tutorials and mentorships, etc., etc. Okay, shameless plug aside, I love gardening, and I do feel that feeds back into my creativity and my overall momentum on a day-to-day. So let's say if you're into woodworking or knitting, that's going to teach you patience and finesse. Again, and these are skills that are going to come back to your creativity. So try to find things that are not directly related to your art, but can also improve your art. Let me know if you guys have any ideas and things and hobbies and interests that help feed into your creativity, because I want to hear from you guys. All right, so number 4 on today's agenda is that at the end of the day, a positive mindset really needs to be everything, right? Positive thinking keeps us from sinking. Remember that, kids? Write it on your lunchbox. I have to tell my 5-year-old this all the time because they are very quick to take it to meltdown town. And 2 years ago, this is where I found myself, not necessarily a meltdown town, but I found myself in a very negative frame of mind due to what was happening, of course, in the world. But of course, overall, staying positive, cultivating good thoughts, better things generally will happen. Your outlook will make harder tasks easier. And of course, your connections that you make will be easier to make as well if you're more of a positive and upbeat person. This is something I have to work on myself. I did this today actually because I took my kids to the playground. I was in a really good mood. I had a little pep in my step. I made friends with some of the dads there. I got some play dates set up for my kids and for myself now. But again, it's hard. I have to force myself to do that because for me, it's easier to kind of just be shy and to be quiet and stay in the corner. So it's something I'm constantly working on. It's also hard to kind of make friends as an adult. I'm just going to throw that out there. Let me know if you guys struggle to make friends as an adult as well. But bringing it back to art, building your confidence and your self-esteem will improve your art. You can see this with very beginner students to more advanced students. The confidence in every line and within every brushstroke as they get more sure of themselves. And for me, this is celebrating the small achievements, right? So, okay, you lose 5 pounds, celebrate that. You didn't eat a toxic snack for a day, celebrate that. Go for a walk, make a tweet about it, do what you do. But celebrate the small things. That's a huge part of what makes anything sustainable. Keep and maintain your growth mindset. And what I'm talking about, right, is learning, daily, listen to those that know more than you, and help, of course, teach those who don't know as much as you. A huge part about that for myself is just being open to criticism. I try not to put as much stock in criticism that is not as constructive. And I do this by laughing when I can. So if I messed up a hand or a foot on a character during a paint over that's live, which I always do, I laugh it off. I don't, when someone is like calling me out on it, I used to kind of get a little sore about it. Hey, who are you to tell me? Now it's fun. I make it fun, and that makes me a better artist. It makes me a better person. At least I'd like to think so. But find humor in the simple misfortunes. Mindset, of course, is everything. And this is something I'm trying to constantly instruct in my own household, particularly with my kids. But it does apply to me as a creator. It applies to me as an artist. And it's something I've had to learn to make all of this kind of sustainable as long as I have so far. The way that we look at the world is how it appears. Part of that is having a morning ritual of positive affirmations. And my wife is the one that's responsible for getting me on this one. Being hard on ourselves can be detrimental. I do feel it's an important kind of ritual of mine to tell myself that I'm capable, I am confident, and that I can seize the day with as much kindness as I possibly can. Because it's just so easy to get lost in the span and the scope of things. And another part of this is how I frame my day. So part of where I kind of arrived at this conclusion is that it's very easy to come up with excuses. It's easy to come up with excuses when something goes wrong, when something doesn't go our way. But if we, let's say, I had a bad morning, therefore it's going to toss the whole day. I personally like to frame my day as quarters, right? Morning, midday, afternoon, and evening. So if something catastrophic happens or just something doesn't align right, I can just say I had one bad quarter. I can make up for that in the rest of the day. What this does and helps me kind of think about internally is that I'm just failing small and not big, and that there's always time to kind of make up for it. Because after all, there technically is only just 2 paths here, right? There is the path of discipline and the path of regret. Simply, what am I going to regret not doing today, tomorrow, and the next day? But yeah, it's been a crazy 2 years, guys, and it took a lot of very small little shifts for me to kind of get back on course with my life. I measure everything out that helps me. It's never a huge inconvenience. Right now personally, I'm going for 200 grams of protein, like 60 grams of fat, 200 to 300 carbs. I'm doing push-pull legs routines, and then I skip a day and then do push-pull and then skip a day. Right? Everything has intent with it, and that's the takeaway here, is like just being mindful of everything, and that really does help me be a lot more aware and conscious of all the bad things I'm doing, all the of course reflecting on all the good things as well. It's all moderation. I never cut anything cold turkey. I never quit alcohol, for example. I never quit gaming. I just do it at the right time. I do it in moderation. And that's the key. I do art in moderation. I do work in moderation. And it keeps myself balanced, and balance is where things are sustainable. All right. Thanks again for the sponsor, Magic Mind here. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Let me know what you guys want to hear about in the comments below. Once again, I'd like to thank Magic Mind for sponsoring this video. Guys, use the codes and links below in the description. Start saving today. Give it a shot.